Oh, so many firsts to talk about today. Welcome to the Time Treadmill. I'm Ron, and these are my sweaty thoughts about Doctor Who. Of course, The Time Warrior is the first appearance of Sarah Jane Smith as a companion, and that is a huge, huge first, and I'm so excited to see Elizabeth Sladen again. But that's not by any means the only first in this story. It's also the first appearance of the Sontarans as a recurring villain in the series. And in fact, this is the first new villain to be introduced since the Master, and for that matter, it's the last new recurring villain to be introduced until, I guess, maybe the Rani. You could say the Zygons because they come back in the modern era, but there is such a long stretch before them. They aren't recurring enemies in the classic era at all. So pretty much from this point on, in terms of recurring villains, it's Sontarans, Daleks, Cybermen. Oh, and Silurians. That's it. Everything else is one-off monsters from here on out, although when I say recurring, holy cow, do the Daleks and the Cybermen recur a lot. But moving onward, other firsts in this story. This story features a brand new opening title sequence, the first appearance of the familiar time tunnel effect. Up until now, the opening sequence has always been a variation on pointing a camera at a monitor and filming the feedback and the weird kind of flowy patterns you get from it. Beginning with The Time Warrior, the opening and closing sequence has the distinctive 1970s era blue-green time tunnel that you float down. And into that, we see the brand new logo for Doctor Who. Both of these things will stick with the show throughout the end of the 70s, and in a lot of ways this feels like the beginning of the Fourth Doctor era, even though we've got one more season of the Third Doctor left. So many things are falling into place that are defining characteristics of the show of what you think of when you think of Tom Baker in the role. Now, another less consequential first in this story is that this is the story where they went from saying Episode 1, Episode 2 to saying Part 1, Part 2. So for now through, I'm pretty sure the end of the classic era, it's all parts and not episodes. That's the first time the title scheme has changed since they went to overall stories instead of individual titles after the Gunfighters. Now, there is one last major first in this story, and it's a biggie. This right here, The Time Warrior, is the first time the Doctor mentions the name of his home planet. The Time Warrior is the first utterance of the word Gallifrey. And with this, the Time Lord mythos is almost complete. 11 years into the show, it is a monumental moment. And it goes by so quickly you almost don't even notice it. Huh. Now, one last thing worth note in this story, and it's not a first because this actor appeared in the show a couple of times before, but actor Jeremy Bulloch, best known as Boba Fett, appears throughout this story in the part of Hal, and it's, to my recollection, his only major speaking role in the show. He appears in a couple other stories, but they're usually kind of short one-off parts. This is one where he actually has a reasonably substantial number of lines throughout the course of the story. So, good to have the future Boba Fett on board with this one. And with that, that wraps up The Time Warrior. Tomorrow, I move on to a story which I absolutely guarantee Steven Spielberg did not use as a reference for Jurassic Park. I'll see you tomorrow.